We've been looking at all kinds of practical ways for children and young people with additional needs and disabilities to be included in our group, to be able to access all we're doing and to belong. But in this session, we're going to be looking at how Jesus responded to the disabled people he met, how their encounter with him was transforming, and how all of that can teach us some amazing lessons for us to use today. The first person that we're going to think about is the man who was lowered through the roof by his friends. You may be familiar with the story. Jesus was teaching in a place and some friends took their friend who couldn't walk with them to encounter Jesus, to meet Jesus, to hear Jesus and see what he was doing. And when they reached the house where Jesus was teaching, it was full. They couldn't get in, and so they climbed up onto the roof and they dug a hole in the roof and they lowered their friend down through the hole in the roof in front of Jesus so that he could hear and see Jesus and that Jesus could meet him and encounter him. And as that happened, Jesus did something extraordinary. Everybody anticipated that Jesus would heal the man, but the first thing that Jesus did was to forgive him. He said, "Son, your sins are forgiven. Your faith has forgiven you." And that's just a wonderful lesson for us to think about today. The most important thing for Jesus wasn't the fact that the man was disabled. The most important thing was his faith. And only when Jesus was challenged about his authority to be able to forgive sins, did Jesus then heal him and say to him, "Pick up your mat and walk." And the man was able to do just that and go outside and greet his friends, and they all went off rejoicing together. But the most important thing was the person and their faith rather than their disability. There's a lesson there for us today too, isn't there? And the second person that I wanted to share about with you is Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus was a man who was born blind. He begged on the road from Jericho to Jerusalem. And Jesus and the disciples and Jesus' followers were journeying down that road one day, and they passed by where Bartimaeus was, and he cried out to them, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The people tried to shut Bartimaeus up, but he shouted all the louder, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus heard him and asked Bartimaeus to be brought to him, and everybody again gathered around expecting Jesus to heal Bartimaeus there and then. But Jesus asked a really important question. The first thing he did was to say to Bartimaeus, "What would you have me do for you?" He didn't assume that because Bartimaeus was blind, that the thing that Bartimaeus wanted to receive was his sight. As it happened, Bartimaeus was very much wanting to see again and asked Jesus to heal him, and Jesus did. But Jesus didn't assume, and neither should we. We should always ask people, whether children, young people, or indeed adults with additional needs or disabilities, how can we help them? How can we serve them? And to hear from them ways in which we can make what we do more inclusive and more accessible and create belonging for them. Jesus, in both of those examples, reached out in love to Bartimaeus and to the man who was lowered through the roof. He reaches out in love to us, to each one of us, and to the children that we serve. And in wonderful ways, we can respond to that love that Jesus has given us. We can accept that love into our own hearts and thank him for the love he has for us. And we can pass that love on through the work we do with children and young people in our groups, remembering Jesus' encounters with the people he met and using them to inspire us and help us as we serve and help others.